I've had the chance to go hands-on with many watches from MMI in the past. Overall, I think the quality of the watches are well built, well priced, and unlike other micro brands, this is not simply an homage company. The MMI Turret was the first watch from the company that I reviewed with a unique date wheel that circles the dial of the watch. This is their new Turret Marine, a retro-inspired chronograph with their trademark dial wheel, squared subdials, and with this one, an ice blue dial with contrasting black accents. Super excited to show you this watch, so let's hop into it. Welcome to the channel. I'm Chase, and this is All Things Random, mostly watch reviews with some random stuff sprinkled in between. I'm super excited to bring you this watch. Like every video, details first of the watch, then at the very end, I'll give you my impressions. This is the Turret Marine chronograph model TRC-05. From the outside in, the case diameter is 40 millimeters, the case thickness is 12.3 millimeters, not including the crystal. The lug to lug, or the footprint, is 47 millimeters, and the lug width of this is going to be 22 millimeters. The case material is constructed of 316L surgical grade stainless steel, so an upgrade from the industrial standard that you're used to. The case is brushed, uniformed all the way around, extremely nicely done. This is going to be vertical brushing, as you can see on the case, with chamfered edges. Screw pushers at the 2 and 4 with a screw down crown nestled between crown guards. The bezel is a 120 click unidirectional bezel, an iron plated DLC black stainless steel insert with Swiss Superluminova in the numbers. The bracelet is stainless steel that begins at 22 millimeters, tapers down to 20 millimeters to a proper milled clasp underneath a safety fold-over clasp with 5 points of micro adjustment. Covering the dial is a double-domed sapphire crystal with 10 layers of air coating on the underside. Super happy to see that more companies are only doing the underside. I understand why Omega would do on both the under and top side, because they want an extremely anti-reflective clear dial. However, on the outside, when any watch brands ever do air coating on the outside, the problem is the air coating tends to rub off over time and it looks like scratches on the sapphire, even though it's just the air coating. But 10 layers is a lot to put underneath the crystal, so this thing is going to be extremely legible in the light. Now, this watch is going to be all about the dial. The dial is an eggshell textured sandwich dial with applied indices, recessed subdials, that rotodate complication around the outside minute track. The black subdials at the 12 and 6 with a matching ice blue subdial at the 9. The hour and minute hands are standard lume sword hands that are black, with a center second hands being orange, along with the corresponding subdials also being orange. Inside the watch is a Seiko hybrid Mecha Quartz VK67A movement. This allows a smoother sweep for that counting center seconds hand, similar to a mechanical watch, while keeping the reliability of the quartz movement. The watch offers 100 meters of water resistance, and on my 7¼ inch wrist, this watch doesn't fit too large or too small. However, as I turn my wrist, you can see that it is slightly tall. Now that the details are out of the way, let me explain to you what my thoughts and my impressions are of the MMI Turret Marine. Well, it is extremely retro-inspired, which I like a lot. I like the ice blue, but I also like the Bismarck yellow that they offer. In fact, I would prefer the Bismarck yellow. In no way is this my watch. This is going to end up going to somebody else. But I like the Bismarck yellow just a little bit more than the ice blue, but both offer that wonderful vintage 1960s, 1970s retro-inspired racing chronograph, but with 100 meters of water resistance. When you look at those square subdials, they actually kind of look like a Tag Heuer Monaco from the early vintage era, the 60s, the 70s, and even the newly released Monaco just has those square subdials. It just gives it a nice vintage aesthetic and appeal. Then with the double dome sapphire crystal, it just further gives it more of that vintage vibe, which I appreciate. Now, they didn't have to go with all the details, with the vertical brushing, the chamfered edges. To me, I think they are trying to provide probably more than what they should, because there are some of the things that I'm going to nitpick here that maybe some people won't, and that's going to be like the bracelet. Now, I'm not a big fan of the bracelet. I think the end links are a little bulky, but it may be something that you like. This is a slightly chunkier watch, right? And it does fit tall on the wrist, and that's going to be something that you're going to have to consider. This watch is not going to slip easily under the cuff, but maybe that's not what you want. This watch is a looker, and it will bring eyes right down to the wrist, and it'll probably start a conversation. So this is more of a statement piece than it is something more subdued, something more hidden, like a Submariner. Now, overall, I like the watch. One of the things I love about the watch is the lume. A lot of things are loomed on this watch. The bezel is loomed, the dial on the ice blue one is loomed, the hands are loomed, the indices are loomed. It's a lume monster. That being said, the more lume that's applied, I just feel like it doesn't last as long as it could. I like lume dials, but I feel like once you walk in from the sun, from the outside, the lume looks great, and 5 minutes later, it's like a dull glowing from your wrist, and I would just prefer it not be like that. The ice blue is the only one that offers that loomed background, which is kind of what pushes me towards the Bismarck yellow. And plus, the Bismarck yellow, to me, is just slightly more eye-catching, and like I said, this is going to be a looker. This is going to draw eyes down to your wrist, and I think that Bismarck yellow just looks more racy. But the ice blue, still, I think blue right now is saturated the market, and I think that a lot of people like the ice blue look or that Tiffany blue look, but for me, I think it's kind of played out. So if you are going to choose something like the MMI Turret Marine, I would choose that Bismarck yellow personally, but that's just a personal opinion. Overall, it fits the wrist. It's very comfortable. The bracelet's very comfortable. This is a slightly heavier watch, but I love the fact that they use that Seiko Quartz movement. A lot of people are sort of on the in-between when it comes to mechanical and quartz. Most people don't want to have to reset their watches all the time because they don't wear it all the time. Most people don't want to spend extra money on something like a watch winder. And nobody wants to see necessarily that ticking center second hand because personally, if you're a watch collector, it kind of feels cheap, which is where I think the Seiko Quartz kind of bridges that gap between the pretentious automatic snobs of the world and the people who want something reliable like a quartz. Because once you hit that chronograph function, it ticks at 5 ticks a second, which gives you more of that mechanical feel. However, it does have a ticking subdial second hand just above the 6, but it's really not that noticeable because the hand is so small. So it's kind of like a great in-between. Like I said, bridging that gap between the two. Personally, it's a great alternative. I do like the fact that MMI is sticking with their theme with their watches all around, and that is going to be that rotodate along the outside. Some of their watches have the rotodate just inside of the indices. This one is just on the outside. It just gives, just a little bit more on the visual appeal than having a date that everybody can see. That's sort of like the classic go-to. I like when people do things differently, and MMI have chosen their market. They have branded their watches a specific way, and it's good that they're sticking within the bounds of their brand. It's really great to see. They're hanging on to that, and I hope they do it in the future. Now, what do you guys think about this watch? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I will leave a link down below. Please, 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 if you've made it this far, hit the subscribe button. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. I'm trying to release a video maybe once a week, maybe 2 a week. I'm trying to bring you guys higher quality videos that are more well-rounded and more well put together. Apparently, some people are not getting notified when I release videos. So do me a favor, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.